When I hear people who want to ban Muslims from America or who are completely unsympathetic to Central Americans fleeing for their lives, of course I think about my own roots, about my dad. His life in Yugoslavia was similarly in jeopardy. And so in 1948, he decided to flee. His life was saved, and I am here because the First Presbyterian Church in Portland brought my dad to the U.S. And one of the lessons to me is the importance of that kind of compassion and empathy. Another is the degree to which refugees enrich our country. I grew up on this beautiful farm. We raise sheep, we have timber, we have a cherry orchard. My mom is still on the farm, and it is just a gorgeous place to come back to. I want to go to the church to say thank you. I'm here because of their compassion. So why does the church want us to go and speak after more than 60 years?
There is a faction in the church that is very much interested in sponsoring Syrian refugees. And there is also a faction that is against that. They knew that Chris was sponsored by their church, so they suggested that maybe you could come and talk about it. And of course, I always take any opportunity to get you out here.
You volunteered me.
So I said, sure, he'll come.
After my dad died, I was sorting through his papers. I was thinking about writing about him. I found a refugee document that he had received. He's got a different name. He's Vladislav Kristofovich, and he's much younger than anybody I remembered. My dad grew up in what was then Romania, what is now Ukraine. The family was part of a spy network for Free Poland. They defied both the Nazis and the Soviets. We had family members who were killed by the Nazis at Auschwitz and who were killed by the Soviets in Siberia. Part of the family went to Poland, part to Romania. My dad took an enormous risk and went to Yugoslavia.
He got a tire, because he wasn't a very good swimmer, and swam the Danube, and the tire started losing air on the way over, but he got to the other side. And he was picked up by the police.
He was sent to a concentration camp. He was eventually sent in a train out of it. About half the Romanian refugees were being executed, about half were being freed. And so he was in the lucky half. Eventually, he made his way to France.
But he was not allowed to work in France. He had to take anything that enabled him to eat. One thing that he did was cleaning rooms in hotels and apartment buildings. And he met an American, Marge Cameron.
She convinced her parents and her parents' church, the First Presbyterian Church in Portland, to sponsor his way to the U.S. As they pulled into the New York harbor, a woman from Boston said, "Welcome, young American." And the idea that he would be an American when he didn't speak English, when he'd never yet quite set foot on America, was profoundly moving.
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago and went to the University of Chicago, and there I met my husband. We met in the dining room and we ended up at the same table. And he was just a very likable person. And so it was kind of easy to fall in love. The following summer we got engaged, and by the end of the year we got married. If the church hadn't sponsored him, it's unlikely that he would have come to the United States. I would never have met him. Our family would never have happened. So I am extremely, extremely grateful.
So I'd like to thank this church for its humanity, enabling me to be here right now, 64 years later. And with that, I'd be delighted to make it a conversation and address whatever is on your minds.
Some of the people in our church here are starting the initial stages of discussing and deciding whether we would choose to sponsor a refugee family. What would be some of our biggest challenges, and what should we think about as we're making that decision?
First of all, I'd say it worked pretty well in 1952. And I think we forget sometimes the security concerns that people had back then. This is the height of the Cold War, the McCarthy period. The idea of bringing in a East European refugee, is this somebody you can trust? Refugees, while they inevitably are going to present some risks, also present tremendous opportunity for the country as a whole. It's useful to stop thinking, does this solve a problem? And to think in terms of, does it address it for at least some people in some places? When this church sponsored my dad in 1952, that didn't solve the global refugee problem, didn't make a dent in the global refugee problem. It really was just a drop in the bucket. But it was completely transformative for the Kristof family, completely transformative. So thank you very much. More power to you. Thank you. Thank you.